Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, I gotta tell you, I saw some footage of you down there in Texas, wherever you were. I saw you with Dexter, which is absolutely cool to see, and I gotta tell you, there was something I noticed. Something very specific.
What?
You were wearing this like black shirt. I mean, you looked absolutely yoked. I was like, damn, I mean, we got Living Tribunal on the screen right now. That's literally what you looked like. Dude, I feel like I'm built like a muffin. Cozy Snap, are you absolutely jacked or what?
No, dude, not at all, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. I've been trying. I got a little new push-up device. I'm trying to rip out some. Listen, YouTube content. You're not exactly a mobile. I'm playing a mobile game, but I'm not very mobile. So I'm trying to run a little bit. Hey, thanks, man. I have a new push-up machine. It's working a little bit.
Oh, new push-up machine. The only thing that I'm getting pushed up from is my push-up bra, buddy. I got to get some exercise going. Listen, I'm falling behind. I'm spending way too much time on my computer, my friend. And you know what? I'm going to just say you're an inspiration to us all. And if I can just get, you know what? I got to be honest. If I can get yoked like Living Tribunal here, I don't even know where the term yoked comes from. Like, people keep saying it to me. Where did that even originate from? Like, isn't it like a yolk, like an egg? Is it because people eat egg? Like, I see like dudes like, oh, I'm getting jacked, and they like drink like egg whites and stuff. Is that where it comes from? Like, I don't even know.
We've had this discussion on the Snapchat. I said yoked one time, and I like blew you away. And then we taught you. We've gone on from there.
Really? So I'm already supposed to know this, and I just don't remember?
Dude, we had a full conversation about yoked and jacked.
Seriously? Okay. Well, all right. Well, maybe I have to revisit prior episodes of the
We've
Snapchat.
had too many tangents. Yeah, at this point.
We've got a lot to talk about today. And Cozy, we had an absolutely fantastic conversation on your side of the Snapchat. Why don't you bring us down with what we spoke about?
Yeah. So I'm going to bring us down. We got the Spotlight caches. We talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we also talked about the Spotlight caches in August. We rated them, which ones to hold, go in all in for. And then we also talked OTA and new card rankings. We talked about Jean Grey, our thoughts on them. And then also just kind of where Gambit, Nakia, these new cards that got recently buffed, fall into Marvel Snap.
Yeah, we got pretty worked up during the Spotlight conversation. It's definitely worth listening, so be sure to keep an eye on the description down below where you'll have a link to Cozy's video, and obviously at the end of this one, we'll link it as well. But regardless, Cozy, let's get started today. We're going to get started with a topic that I think is really important now. I know there's a lot of players out there that are like well into their collection levels, but there's a lot of you, and I know, Cozy, we get comments all the time. There are a lot of new players that are joining Marvel Snap every day, and they listen to the Snapchat. First of all, if you're brand new to Marvel Snap, welcome. You're playing one of the best games on the planet, and you're listening to one of the best podcasts on the planet, dare I say. But what I will say as well is that I know it can be a little tricky navigating the world of Marvel Snap and deck building. Because, listen, Cozy, at its heart, this is a competitive game. You got Conquest now. People want to like perform. They want decks that are going to work, and we're going to try and deliver some free-to-play friendly decks out there for people. And why don't you get us started, Cozy?
Awesome, man. Well, let's go and just talk about decks that either have, one Series 4, one Series 5 card, and that's about it, right? Like, listen, a lot of Jeffs can fit, a lot of Jeffs, I was saying Jeffs because I was thinking it, a lot of decks can fit in Jeff anywhere and some of these other cards, but you don't have to have those, right? And so I think this is a good topic about not needing every new card and having decks that perform at a great level. So the first one, I think, is one without anything. They got no new cards in it, and man, is it just a good performer. Shuri, I forgot that Shuri, She-Hulk, Sauron, obviously Red Skull Taskmaster, all these cards, they're pool 3. They're series 3. And so this is a deck now sitting at what, like a 60% win rate, man, over, we have the data here, like 4,000 games. Look at this thing. 60%, 4,000 games, very high average cubes. There's not a new card in sight here. This is definitely one of those decks that it is so straightforward. It can build tall to go up against bounce very easily. It's not the most fun deck, in my opinion, to play, but we're looking at just a good deck in Snap. And this is definitely one that I would consider playing if you do enjoy the archetype and you're looking for a deck that's straightforward and extremely free to play, Alex.
And for the audio listeners out there, we'll go through the deck list as well, but I do agree with Cozy. This is like literally one of the best decks in the meta right now, and it's extremely free to play friendly. We've got Sunspot, 0, Ebony Maw to round out the 1 cost. And I love Ebony Maw because, Cozy, when you drop that Sauron, you can play Ebony Maw on turn 6. We've got Armor, we've got Lizard, Sauron as mentioned, and then finally the key component, which is Shuri, Enchantress, Typhoid Mary, Taskmaster, Red Skull, and then She-Hulk. You got a lot of options here, Cozy, and when you get that Sauron on 3, it feels like a Snap condition. You got the, listen, people are sleeping on Lizard. You got the Enchantress combo there. Like, there are so many ways to win with this deck, and no one expects Ebony Maw on turn 6.
Yeah, 100%. So really good deck there. Definitely don't need anything too fancy. I have other decks we can talk about today. I think we can just, skim through and say High Evo obviously is still a good deck. And if you think about it, you only need High Evo, right? Which is why when we talked about the July cash openings, that 1 week with Darkhawk and High Evo, I think both of those cards, you just get one of those. So you have like a 50% chance at that point. You can build decks off of just those and not needing anything else. So that's a pretty solid week in my eyes.
Oh, I agree. I agree absolutely. Especially when you consider like the way Darkhawk is built with Devil Dinosaurs. I mean, the Rocks and Hawks, like you have the pieces in pool 3, right? So absolutely excellent call out there. One of the absolute top decks in the meta right now is Sarah Control. Sarah Control is one of those decks that gives you a ton of options and capability of simply always having an answer regardless of what the game state is. And so on the screen right now, we've got ourselves a Sarah Control list running a 61% win rate. It's got Kitty Pryde, which I know is a technical Series 5 card, but pretty much everyone that's been playing Marvel Snap got it, unless you just joined Marvel Snap like very recently. We do have Nova, Angela, Scarlet Witch, Sentinel, Mysterio, which in my opinion is one of the most overpowered cards in the game, Lizard, Bishop, Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and finally, Thera. This deck does it all. It has all that you need to basically be competitive in any given game state, and ultimately is a really reliable deck to help carry you to infinite.
Yeah, you know what's cool about Sarah Control is nothing has really changed about it. You can add in Hit Monkey, you can have, spicy pieces as you upgrade your collection. But this deck is just a counter, right? It's there to counter, it's there to get rid of those big decks out there. And there's not essential cards that you have to have in this deck that are very hard to get. Kitty Pryde, sure. But even looking towards the future, maybe something like Mobius, which is coming out in September with Loki that can counter some cost stuff going on. Some stuff like that, maybe. But for the most part, you have like all the tools in Sarah Control. And I tell you, I've gone all the way up to the 5th battle and Infinite Conquest, and I lost to a Sarah Control deck. Because it covers a lot of bases, man. It covers a lot of bases. And it's a deck that I'm going to continue to say this. I said it on a video 5 months ago. Learning this deck also comes with so much advantage as a new player because it teaches you how to counter. I think that's invaluable information.
I love that point. You're right. Like playing a deck like this that's very reactive to your opponent's plays is super interesting from a gameplay and just straight up learning perspective. It helps you learn about initiative with the use of Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and whatnot. There's a lot to learn in Marvel Snap, and this deck does allow you the opportunity to master it and then carry yourself with straight up skill. I think it's a very skillful deck to pilot.
Yeah.
Cozy, do you have another deck that you'd like to show us?
Yeah, so the next deck is great because it's not a big surprising one, but it's another that I would say if you're newer to the game or if you're free to play, I always go back to this as like, is Marvel Snap pay to win, anything like that? It's far from it because Patriot still, the stats are ridiculous. The stats are absolutely crazy. And not only just Patriot Zoo, so you guys can see the deck here on screen. Not a ton of games, but you got about 500 games. A 57% win rate is absolutely nuts. You have Wasp, Squirrel Girl, Misty Knight, Shocker, Mystique, and Patriot, Storm, Debris, Kazar, Blue Marvel, Doctor Doom, and Ultron. You can throw in Onslaught, as you know. There's not any cards in there that you can't have, and it's good. It's reliable. Locations work with the deck. There's variants. You can go wide. You can go tall. You can plug and play things like, White Tiger. And then the best thing is, if you go the Onslaught way, you just get Iron Lad. If you just go for Iron Lad, then you get an upgrade to this deck. So you can get good with Patriot, get with a 57% win rate on the, at the same time. And then you can get Iron Lad and have Iron Patriot, which is even way better at that. And it's an insanely good deck, man. This is a deck that if you struggle with consistency, it's impossible with this deck too. It's just too good.
I love Patriot, and you are right. It feels like this evergreen deck that's always playable. And you bring up a great point. There are so many of these decks that really do well in getting an additional piece as you unlock more cards. And I think that's what's exciting about Marvel Snap. You have a deck that you really like, you play it all the time. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely love Silver Surfer. I play Silver Surfer, and what happens? A new 3-drop comes out, and I can't wait to experiment it with it, just like Jean Grey. And so, like you said, you unlock Iron Lad from a pull or from a Spotlight Cash or something, and you've been playing Patriot, you've got one of the best decks in Marvel Snap now. So that is absolutely fantastic point, Cozy. My next one I'm going to talk about here is Destroy. Destroy's been having a bit of a resurgence, which is kind of cool. And actually, in August, we're going to get a whole bunch of tools for Destroy as well. So it's going to get pretty wild. And if you want to start practicing, now is going to be a good time. One thing about Destroy that I really like is that it has this natural upgrade path. Now, on the screen, what you see here is you see a Destroy deck running a 58% win rate. And you will notice it does have a Series 4 card in Null. The reason why I'm including Null here is, first of all, it's not absolutely necessary, but it was part of the most recent Spotlight cache, so I suspect a lot more of you guys have Null in your libraries. We do have Deadpool, Nova, Yondu. We have Bucky Barnes, Carnage, Wolverine, Killmonger, Venom, who I think is one of the best Destroy cards in the game, if not one of the best cards in the game. I think Venom is really being slept on in terms of being amazing. We have Sabretooth, Deathlock, Null as mentioned, and finally Death. With the exception of Null, you probably have the vast majority of these cards. And honestly, it's a very strong archetype right now. It answers to a lot of the Galactus play when they're throwing over the goblins and you just munch them all up using your Carnage or your Deathlock or whatever. It gives you a lot of opportunity to go pretty vertical. And obviously, your Death is one of the most fascinating cards in the game. You can play it early. A lot of Deaths are being played on like turn 5, for instance. And naturally, Killmonger represents an amazing tech card at all levels of collection.
Yeah, I think Destroy was one of those archetypes that would have been in Archetypes in Need of Love. Not anymore. It's good with the arrow somewhat kind of nerf. Just she isn't played near as much. And then also that Venom buff just really helped out the archetype a ton. Very solid, very straightforward. You have games where you can win very big. You have games where your opponent doesn't know if you have Death. And it is more reliable than people think. And then you also counter naturally, like Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, those kind of things too. And so that's always pretty solid. I do like Destroy. We won't talk about it much. I think discard MODOK is just like High Evo in the sense of you need one card. You really need one card, and if you have it, you have yourself another very solid deck, one that's dependable, reliable. I know we both have had our share of plenty of discard, and going into this next August season, a lot of discard. So if you enjoy that archetype, you can continue to lean into it just like Destroy here. Both of those are going to be on the rise very, very shortly. Now for my next deck, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I had this deck up. This is one that I play personally into the Infinite Conquest. And listen, the deck doesn't have anything too crazy. You've got Kitty Pryde, which is going to be the most exclusive card. Don't have to have it, but you have Agent 13, Quinjet, Angela, which you're obviously going to be building up with Kitty, the Collector, Zabu, Sentinel, Agent Coulson, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Nick Fury, and America Chavez. Now, Zabu is going to be the card, actually, that will probably be the toughest to get in the list. Very vital here. I will say it's pretty big on this list because of the generation, but I think we could both agree Zabu is a purchase that you're going to want to make sooner rather than later for Sarah Control, for Rocks and Hawks, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I could keep going on. This deck, though, is great because it gives you access to a bunch of cards you may not have, and it also gives you dependable power. One of my favorite decks at the moment, and I know a lot of creators and or pretty top players are playing the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. deck. So, Alex, this is definitely one high up on my list.
And I love what you say about Zabu as well. Yes, it's one of the lesser accessible cards in this deck. However, it's a card that we've all talked about as being one of the absolute best cards in Marvel Snap, and it is very much worth your tokens. Zabu's not getting nerfed. I don't see Zabu getting changed. I think it's been changed perfectly. The packages around Zabu that were once oppressive have been modified. I think this card's here to stay, and I think that it's definitely worth the tokens because it's legitimately one of the best cards in the game. Now, Cozy, we're going to finish it off here with the best free-to-play friendly decks with just Surfer. And I'm not even going to read off a specific list. Silver Surfer has so many different variations. It's one of my absolute favorite archetypes in the game. In fact, I feel like I've been talking about Silver Surfer ad nauseum in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It is such a good card. But the thing I love about it is that depending on your collection, there are so many different ways you can slot different 3-drops, different 2-drops into a Sarah Surfer based list. So just from general deck building practices, what you generally want to do is run, a Nova, and then that runs it with the Killmonger. But you want to have 2-drops, both of which will be a little tech-centric for the given meta. Like, for instance, Invisible Woman is what you want to play right now to deal with the bounce. And then basically an assortment of 3-drops and then Sarah. It's literally that easy. Like, the deck crafting is fun. It just becomes a matter of like adjusting which 3-drops you feel you need. Is there a lot of ongoing? Do you want to surprise someone with Rogue? Then add Rogue in, right? So Cozy, it's one of my favorite archetypes in the game, and I actually do think it's a very, very free-to-play friendly.
Yeah, we spent, for those listening on the podcast, we spent, the majority talking about Silver Surfer at the beginning of this podcast. So, yeah, we definitely hit it a ton. And I think there's a lot there about the archetype. Very solid. A lot of ways around it. It's a card like Zabu that's always going to be good. Yeah, you got to love the now daily, weekly Surfer talk there from Alex. I'm a Surfer, man, so I love it. You know, you can't make me mad about talking surfing. Let's start archetypes, though, in need of love. And, I was making this list. You sent the subjects over. And, I got to say this. I don't think there's all that many. I actually was looking at all of them in the game, and I was like, well, discard, no. Destroy, no. So I'm curious on the ones that you have. I wanted to kick us off with one, but I'm excited to see because I think that archetypes, they're continuing to evolve, as we might see with Loki and some other cards. The one, two that stuck out to me a ton, Alex, and I don't know if you're in agreement here. On reveal, it's very tough to say this archetype because it's so broad. I mean, look at the sheer amount of on reveal cards, man. It's ridiculous. But I'm sure you're going to be talking the same here. Like core on reveal, that core Odin-based kind of deck. I think it could get a little love because you're having on reveals go into control. You're having them go into Surfer. They're kind of going into all these other type of decks. But that core build, Echo might bring that back out with Wong and stuff. I think Echo might be a huge bump up. But don't you feel like on reveal needs a little bit of zest?
On reveal seems so interesting because it has the opportunity to really clap someone's cheeks. Like an unchecked Wong, a Wong just sitting there with no counter, no Cosmo, is the most terrifying card in Marvel Snap. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, right.
If there's a Wong sitting there, you're like, I'm gonna lose. He's gonna hit me with something. The nerf to Doctor Doom takes a little bit off on reveal naturally, so the Doctor Doom nerf is significant. You have the addition of Echo, which is going to help protect the Wong. I do think that Wong's a big part of it because when you can double the on reveal effect. And the other card that I think is one of the worst cards in the game, and he's on the screen there, it's Absorbing Man. Absorbing Man is such an underwhelming card, and just a little tweak to Absorbing Man might be enough to give on reveal some love. Just give it another combo piece that it can use. But you are right. Echo might be something worth running because it'll allow you to run Wong and those types of combinations with more confidence.
Yeah.
And I think that confidence can be something you lack in something like an on-reveal deck. But then Legion comes out a week later, and suddenly your ability to location lockdown and stuff people out of lanes and reach into them with the White Tigers gets kind of nullified. But, you're right, Cozy. On-reveal needs something.
What about another archetype in your eyes that, could have used a little spice?
I mean, the obvious one has to be ongoing.
Yeah, that was my next one. Yep. Great.
Yeah,
Let's
I knew
talk
you were
about
going to say it, right? So I stole it from you first.
But it's obvious, though. I think it is obvious looking
obvious.
at Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely ongoing, and I think it comes right down to the 6-cost Spectrum. Like I know that, okay, so I know you just went to the ongoing cards, but I feel like the problem starts with Spectrum to some degree.
That's a good point.
Because Spectrum feels like a combo card that just has nowhere to go. There was the time where it had the ongoing Destroyer list, but outside of that, it feels like it's just lost.
Yeah, it's the variance of ongoing, because ongoing Thanos, I love that I'm seeing it kind of creep out there more. It's super powerful deck, so strong, right? When I had Lammy on and we were talking about Thanos cards, and I was like, all right, let me hit you with this, all right? I was like, I've got a deck that I use Spectrum in a Lockjaw cycle, and Iron Lad's in there, and it can copy that Spectrum. But we still were like, nah, but we would rather someone else, right? That's when it's a problem. When you have the Soul Stone, the Power Stone, you have all these things able to get the pop off from Spectrum, and she's still so weak. And to me, it could just be an OTA, man. Both of these things can be adjusted here, but it's the variance in ongoing play. Onslaught's great. You have some great ongoing cards, but they're not used in this ongoing build. Living Tribunal kind of has its own thing going, so that's cool and all. But it does start with Spectrum. Spectrum used to be so feared with Destroyer because she was an option to the Destroyer. We need now her to be an option to Onslaught or whatever, to have her as like a feared card. Because then what happens, Alex, is all of these super cheap ones that are coming out more and more. You have the Howards, you have the Luke Cage, whatever. These start to get way better too because it's another card that can get hit with Spectrum.
You're absolutely right. I think that one of the things that people miss on Spectrum is the fact that it is disproportionately advantageous to zoo your board with ongoing cards. So like something like a Namor won't benefit as much from Spectrum as opposed to Luke Cage, Ant-Man, or any other ongoing low-cost card, Goose, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. These are cards that they represent small powers, but they get buffed by 2, which for Luke Cage is literally doubling his power. right? So you're right, and there's so many more ongoing cards coming out. You're getting a lot more tech. Obviously, Cosmo is an ongoing card as well. Like, do you just change Spectrum to a 6/7? Like, literally, I think you can go up to 6/7. Like, it doesn't sound crazy to me.
6/7 or like a 6/3 that does +3. You know, like one or the other. It's like it's a give or take. It's either make her that ultimate card that helps all these other small cards, and I think that would be even better. I actually would rather her spread more power and be way less, and then you could like really, really make that crazy. You know, like I don't even need her to be much of anything. 6/2, but a +3. Like +3 would be massive. All of a sudden, you have a Luke Cage that's a 2/5. You have a Howard the Duck. You have Cosmo 3/6. Like these things really start to stack up. You could play Wong and double that to 6 power across the board. That's where I think she could get kind of cool. But yeah, man, ongoing definitely could use the love, and ongoing cards aren't going anywhere, right? So Spectrum is where you start. You don't need some new ongoing effect. I don't even know how you do that. Now, lastly, the one I wanted to bring up, Alex, I think Control is fine. This next one is a one. Dude, I feel like we don't see a lot of cards that can discard the opponent's hand. We've talked about this. Because you don't want to make things too oppressive to go up against, right? You got to be careful with these things that hinder play as they make Control like very strong. But I think that Clog could get a little bit of love. Like this toxic kind of archetype where you've got the yes, we got the Viper in the hood. You got Debris, you got Doc Ock. But doesn't it feel like it could use its own like true core build that isn't? And I don't know. You got to be so careful with this, man. You do. You got to be careful with it. But I feel like it could get a little better.
It needs something, but I'm not quite sure what. Like, you bring up a great point. Like, I actually love Sentry in those types of decks, for instance. Like, I like playing Sentry Valkyrie in those types of lists because you can catch people by surprise, and there's a lot of creative things you can do. But it is tricky because, like, any type of effect that like has like the Black Bolt effect where you discard a card, which we're actually getting another one, right? Yep. Moon Knight, stuff like that. Anything that stuffs their board state, right? It's the Sandman style effect. You got to be very careful, as you said, with how you approach restricting someone's ability to play the game. At the same time, though, like these decks they have no vertical power. And that is what makes Bounce so fearsome. Ironically, it's actually a good matchup for Bounce, because a bad matchup for Bounce, because you take away their board space. It's like a pseudo lockdown. But yeah, it does need something, doesn't it? But I'm not sure what.
Well, it's going to be even worse because Destroyer is getting so much better. And when you have Carnage in the deck, you just spent all this time to get this Void to my side. I just eat it up. You actually gave me power. Thank you for that. Those are kind of the archetypes I think I need. I think negative, all that stuff's probably in a good spot. But, you know, that was good. I think we hit a lot of them there.
Yeah, one I will say just to close us off, and you kind of brushed over it, being like, it's fine. But I'm like, I don't disagree, but I think there is something to be said about discard being in a tricky spot with Spider-Ham.
They're about to get so much love, though, dude. They're about to get so much in August.
I know they are. But at the same time, Spider-Ham, like, as of right now, does really restrict, like, Apocalypse play. Like, it really does impact Apocalypse play. Like, it feels like Spider-Ham really disproportionately destroys discard because of the way that archetype functions. And yes, they're getting some love, but do you truly think it'll be enough?
I honestly think discard's fine right now. Yet personally, I've had Spider-Ham against discard, and I think that it's still good. But man, like Apoc's gonna get up to a 12. That's still pretty good. I know it interrupts the flow of it, but yeah, dude, X23 alone is gonna make discard pretty disgusting. Dakin is gonna be insane in discard. You by getting rid of Dakin's shard, you're just doubling his power, right? Like when you destroy it, you're having to play cost to get rid of it. But X23 is the same way. You can't keep destroying her, but the fact that you can discard her that one time and then all of a sudden be good to go. We now have another. The biggest thing is, honestly, bro, is we have another targeted discard coming in Silver Samurai, and you know what that does. You know we can trim this deck to be even better at getting more swarms, at getting more stuff going for it. I think discard was off my list because its time is coming. I get what you're saying, but I think its time is coming.
Yeah, I've been playing discard recently, right? Obviously, without the new cards that are coming up soon, and I like the Spider-Ham does feel bad. You still have the opportunity to play like Chavez or the Dracula still does its thing, right? But it really does interrupt the flow, as you said. So I just want to say that I felt like it's kind of on the radar of being like, if these cards underwhelm, which I don't think they will. Like I think they're gonna slap, honestly. But if they miss the mark slightly, or if like they don't make some of these lists, then I think this card might need something. But it did get MODOK, which was like literally an absolute blessing for the entire archetype. All right, Cozy, now we're gonna be moving on to the top 10 surprise cards in Marvel Snap. I've been waiting with anticipation for this subtopic because I think that surprise card's in a great spot right now, with Conquest being what it is, robbing guys for their 8 cubes and destroying their dreams in the infinite runs. I'm all about it. And Cozy, we've made individualized lists with top 10s ranked for what we believe are the best surprise cards in Marvel Snap. Cozy, number 10, why don't you start us off here?
Dude, I'm excited because just like the cards we hate, I wanted to do not your typical list, right? Like you're not gonna see. I'll spoil it, man. You're not gonna see a lot of tech cards on my list. Again, I feel like, how can something be surprising if you know it's gonna surprise, right? Like that's my goal. And so I'm trying to think of cards that truly, when they're played against me, I was like, oh damn, I didn't even think about that. Like that's my goal with this list, right? So at number 10, I think this might be a little bit shocking, but for whatever reason, I've lost games plenty of times, depending on the deck. When Iron Man comes out, I have Iron Man as my number 10, bro. And he's definitely not what you would think is a surprise card. But I tell you what, you add in the plus 12s, you add in the plus whatever, and then this will be in a deck that I'm not expecting, and you can't match it. You're not going to get that double power, and this will win a lane. And so I thought this was a very fun. I almost had him as an honorable mention instead, but I've left out a couple other cards. To me, personally, I think Iron Man's a very cool surprise card in the way that he functions.
Iron Man's fantastic. I actually like the pick a lot because I recently did a video series about a surprise deck I was using with Iron Man, where I would actually Iron Man on turn 5, and then part of my miracle play on turn 6 was playing Ghost Spider to basically just move the power to another location and like actually, yeah. So it was really cool because the Iron Man, like its ability to double the power in location is insane. The opponent would often be like, yo, I'm not playing there. I'm just not competing there. And then you move them.
That's the thing. Like, people don't compete. Yeah, people don't compete where Iron Man's at. They feel it's a nope, because they're expecting the onslaught and they're done, right? Like they're like, I'm not even gonna. That's a fun list, man. You should have kept that thing up. I wonder how that. Now I might make a video. I'm gonna steal that idea. I like it a lot, man. That's solid. And I think it's important to say surprise cards, in my opinion, are mainly turn 6, sometimes turn 5. Like that to me is when you play them. If you Shang-Chi in Monster Island on turn 4, cool. But like you didn't catch anyone by surprise. They can kind of now somewhat set up, right? So anyway, man, what is your number 10?
What's not a surprise is the fact that you have unlocked the Iron Man Ultimate variant, like literally right off the bat. What a variant! This is fantastic. Gotta
the Ultimate,
pay the respect.
Some people hate it, some people love it. I think it's so cool. The animation is top tier.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Once again, for the audio viewers, it's Iron Man looking badass. Number 10 for me, and you actually just took a shot at him, but I had to include him on the list. It's Shang-Chi. It has to be, because Shang-Chi still, I play games where I'm like, they know I have Shang-Chi, right? Like they're not just leaving this double dinosaur standing here, right? Like they have to know. They have to know. And they'll go 8 cubes on me. And I'm like, okay, I'll play Shang-Chi down and I'll just dismantle their whole board. I'm like, what was their plan?
Yeah.
Like, Shang-Chi should not be a surprise card. Guys, please. Shang-Chi is in like every single deck in Marvel Snap almost. It shouldn't be a surprise card, but why do I keep taking people by surprise with Shang-Chi?
I'm glad you put him in. Because one of us had to. I didn't, and I knew that was going to get, because I would say for newer players, he's like the number 1 surprise card. Nowadays, again, if I play anything over 9 power, I'm like, okay. Nice knowing you, so it doesn't really shock me anymore. If I try to get greedy and I lose to Shang-Chi, and if it's 4 to 8 cubes, it's my fault. It's my fault there, right? Every now and then you got to be like, Shang-Chi doesn't exist, go, and then, see what happens, and usually he does exist, and you lose. So, Shang-Chi, very, very good card. Like it. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is kind of interesting, and I don't think it'd be on your list. So if it is, I'm going to be so shocked. But it's Super Skrull. Super Skrull coming in at number 9, because I'm telling you right now, I use Super Skrull more often than not. Listen, I took some emotional damage when I pulled it in Series 5. I've lamented on it on the podcast before. People have said like their F's for respect and everything. But like honestly, this card, I feel like actually has some viable uses, and every once in a while, especially when like, oh, Patriots, like the weekend mission, I crushed through those missions so fast just by adding Super Scroll to my deck. Like, it was crazy what Super Scroll can do. And when someone has a Devil Dinosaur on the other side, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna Mystique, or they play Iron Man, and you just Super Scroll, it completely dismantles their whole game state. It can sometimes feel like a dead card, but that's sometimes what these surprise tech cards do. But honestly, Super Scroll at number 9, I think it has the tendency to surprise.
Yeah, you know, when if ongoing does get that love like we talked about, I think that Super Scroll only gets better as that too. So, you know, he's a very state of the meta card, but that was a good pick. I like it. I feel like 4 costs can feel both expensive and super cheap. It just depends on, you know, what you get out of them. That's for damn sure. I like the pick. Again, I'm here for the spicier picks, Alex. Number 9 for me probably could be considered a little bit lower. But I think it's just a bit more expected nowadays, even though I think this card is so good if you do it on Devil Dinosaur, things like that, like when people just are not expecting it. This is where I have Arnim Zola. I think he could go much higher than this, but also I had to get credit to his popularity now. Like, his popularity is going up, but because of the lack of arrows nowadays, I just think that Arnim is really starting to get a lot more spicy. So Arnim Zola, man, yeah. If you're not expecting him, he just sucks. He sucks. He sucks against in Conquest. He's super hard to predict, and then you don't even have to play him. I love Arnim.
Arnim is one of my favorite 6-drops in Marvel Snap, and let's just say we'll talk about him a little more later.
Had a feeling you're gonna have him higher. Yeah, good stuff. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is gonna be Rogue, because this is one of those cards that when I splash into my favorite archetype, which I dare not name again on this podcast, Silver Surfer. Rogue is one of those cards that honestly, especially as a 3/2 now that just got a little bit of love, it is just like destroying from my point. When I play this Rogue and it hits their Devil Dinosaur, it hits their Patriot, or it hits pretty much anything with an ongoing effect, they are just in shambles. This card is one of the biggest emotional swings of Marvel Snap, and I love it.
Okay, I have to say, when I said this was one of my most hated, and you were like, I feel like it's a personal vendetta. I asked Dexter before he watched it. I was like, what are your top 10 most hated cards? Rogue was on there for him as well. I feel like when this card's played, man, screw this card. I hate this card. And it's because it's a surprise. It's because you don't expect it. You don't see it out there as much, right? So, yes, I'm here for it. I like it. Because damn this thing. Damn this card. 100%. My number 8, you had Rogue. I had, good sir, ready for this? Mr. Onslaught. Now, Onslaught, I think, could go much higher as well. It's very hard to play some of these at sometimes. I don't know what it is about this card being... hopefully, Lammy and I were able to get this guy more play after we talked about him with Thanos. You throw this guy on a Devil Dino. You throw this guy on a Claw. You throw this guy on a... You name it. Onslaught is just unprecedented power. You play a Zoo deck. You're like, all right, man, they don't have much. What is this going to be? Like an Ultron, a Shauna? And then you throw Onslaught on this board where you have all this stuff. Or on a Patriot deck. The power that Onslaught puts out, man. I love him. I think he's such a good card.
Onslaught was one of those cards that I often included in decks as part of like my brews and my own splashes. And people would be like, why do you have Onslaught? Cut Onslaught. Add this. Like, it felt like a card that everyone wanted to cut all the time. I'm like, believe in what this card does. This card has the capabilities of completely destroying your opponent's game plan because they just... Listen, people don't do math. People don't do the math. Onslaught comes down and everything becomes much more difficult for them. This is a great card. And Coccia, I've got to tell you, this might be one of the best splits you have in the game.
Oh, it's so good, right?
I cannot get over how good this split looks.
I just never want to touch it. I'm like, it's never changing. It's just so sick. Onslaught's got another cool variant coming out too. I'm pumped for. What is your number 7?
7 is kind of regrettable for me. I felt like this card had to be on the list eventually. And I didn't want to... I almost cut it, but I felt like it had to be there. And I hope it actually becomes the actual surprise card. It's everyone's most hated card. It's Galactus. Galactus comes in at 7 because I still think it catches people off guard. But what I will say is that when Galactus catches me off guard, as a seasoned Marvel Snap player that plays way the hell too much Marvel Snap, I'm like, you know what? Good on you, man. Good on you. You got me. Because when a really good Galactus play comes down and I don't see it coming and it blows up the whole board... That is why, like, I'm like, you know, I don't care how many cubes I lost. That's what it's all about. And I hope Galactus becomes that again. It has the capabilities of being an immense surprise card. And I'm hoping that we start to see that more often.
I like the pick. My number 7 has got to be Arrow. I think Arrow is a card that could go much higher. It could go not on the list for some people. I tell you what, it's because now that she's not in every deck that she's shocking, man. The Wave Arrow interactions, Arrow with Jean Grey, Arrow just to mess up whatever you were trying to do. The better you get at playing Arrow, the more surprising she's going to be. If you can predict what your opponent's going to do, like, man, I can't even tell you how many people I've seen do this or have it themselves. You got like Bar with no name on there. They snap. They're like, this is going to be the easiest thing because they just don't think anybody has Arrow in the deck. You move Arrow over on Bar, they lose. You move Arrow when they're trying to play whatever it is, it's done. It's over. She's in a weaker state because of bounce at the moment, but I do think that Arrow is one of the most surprising cards in the game. And of course, I got to mention it.
That's a great call out, and I'll tell you that I actually kind of regret not including Arrow because I forgot about Arrow. Like, I honestly did not consider for a second. Yeah, I forgot that Arrow could be a legitimate surprise card. So that's a great call out. I love it. For my number 6, we're on number 6. Almost forgot to count there. Number 6 for me is a surprise card that I like pulling out every once in a while. It's a snappable card on turn 4. It's also snappable on turn 5. And that, my friend, is your Salt Bay Sandman. I think that Sandman is in a bit of a weak spot right now, but when you get the right deck, when you're against the right opponent, and you snap on turn 4, and they're trying to bounce that Kitty Pryde around, it's just a retreat. Their whole game plan just turns to mush when you have that Sandman ramped out on turn 4, or even as a turn 5 surprise card. It's legit. Like, it's if they're really banking on the ability to bounce or play their cards, and Sandman can be remarkable in the current meta. It did get nerfed. It does feel a little worse, and that's why you don't see it as often, but that just amplifies its ability to surprise.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this over Wave. Like, Wave on 5 is cool as a surprise. I would say it's even more shocking at times, but also, like, this is Sandman's role, and when this guy comes out, it's like, damn. I will say that, the Electro can be a giveaway. I've been starting to, you're going to see some decks come out this week. I've been starting to throw because of Wave giving that advantage. That's where I've started to Psylocke a lot more because, pushing out a Psylocke on turn 3, they're not ready for that Sandman at that point on 4, So, like, I think Psylocke has a bit more to help some of these cards get their surprise factor in a bit more. And so I do like the Sandman pick a lot. I did forget what number we're on, but besides the point.
6.
So we're on 6? Okay. My number 6 is going to be, and this is because of his popularity, he's gone down. Damn, dude, we've all lost to that Spider-Man lane. We've all lost to it. It's all happened before. We hear his little voice line. Funny enough how much these are coinciding with our most hated cards, I think, Alex. But, yeah, definitely, man. Spider-Man, I still don't agree with his rework. I think I want them to change it. But, damn. Talk about surprising. Like, I'll be like, all right, I got this battle plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I got this giant Venom. Good stuff. And then they Spider-Man me. Or they Spider-Man me on, like, the compound where you have to play and then you can't play. This is I hate this card at times. Yeah, this is surprising for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing more true than when there's Avengers compound, your opponent has Spider-Man.
Every time. Yeah,
it's like a guaranteed thing no matter what. Number 5, Cozy. Number 5 for me is a card that I know you really like, and I've been working to a lot of different brews, and I've been experimenting with it too, and no one's going to guess this, but for me, it's Negasonic.
Yes.
And the reason why, because, like, listen, I think priorities being thrown a lot with bounce and stuff like that. Sliding out a Negasonic can make things a little finicky for some decks. Bounce actually can just feed like garbage into it, and it just kind of feels bad. But a lot of decks, honestly, do not have anything they can deal with Negasonic. You have Negasonic down there, and like they have to either leave the lane or commit something to being destroyed. I think it's a really fascinating card, but what I really like, I don't want to say it again, but when I play Surfer with Negasonic, it goes, he's so disappointed.
It's getting bad. It's
so bad. I know.
Alex,
it's so bad.
Collect yourself.
But I know, but when I have initiative, and I do play Negasonic and Surfer, when I have initiative, I'm able to guarantee a location, right? I play Negasonic, and I usually Sarah turn 5, and I can play Negasonic, Killmonger, and what my Surfer itself, or Negasonic Brood Surfer. Like, it is insane. You basically completely shut down one location for the most part, and then pump the rest of the board. So Negasonic is a very good surprise card that literally no one expects right now.
And another card that will be better when bounce goes away. I will say the new card Alioth is gonna it's gonna hurt her a ton just because he's a 5/5 that kills every card played that turn, and you get to keep him on the board. So it's like, damn, that's pretty good. But Negasonic, great pick. Love that you have her on here, man. She just missed out on mine, and so I'm glad that she got love on your side of things. Number 5, man, for myself. I'm going to go ahead and give it to the main man, Claw. Now, Claw is obviously very surprising. We know that he's the Cube Thief. We'll go back to like episode, I think, 1 of the Snapchat. We used to say he was the Cube Thief. Claw on turn 6 is almost as good as Claw on turn 5. Claw on turn 6 does the same thing where people just don't expect it. And it's because of how it's not even playing him in your own lockdown deck, man. It's when they've got a lockdown deck and they like, I've got Jeff and I've got Professor X. You're like, cool, bro. One Claw takes care of that, man. So when you learn how to lock down locations yourself or the best places to play this card, it's just, it's super viable. You're putting pressure on one lane and then you're putting a lot into the other lane. You can build into it a ton. I love him. I love Claw. And then talk about playing, Claw than Onslaught. That's even more nasty. So yeah, definitely love him.
You son of a gun. We'll be talking about Claw a little more shortly. Number 4 for me is where Arnim Zola comes in. This is where Arnim Zola comes in for me for all the reasons why we talked about before. Beautiful surprise card. I love him. And I've said this before. I love him with Devil Dinosaur. Like, no one sees it coming. Literally nobody, right? I love having him as a splash in Devil Dinosaur. Naturally, with Venom making a bit of a comeback, you're seeing more Arnim Zola. Listen, you released that deck list a while ago with the Black Panther Zola, and like that new list, and like it was spicy. I was actually bumping into it in the meta quite often, and it was good. I mean, Zola's great, and I know you gave it some love before. I was actually surprised it wasn't a little higher on your list, but Zola's a great card.
Yeah, I just feel like Zola, I don't know why Zola wasn't getting played. I was being called the Zola Stan. Like, he's good, man. He changes it's like what you were doing with Ghost Spider and the Iron Man thing, right? Playing Iron Man down, you Zola even, it's like poof, poof, and all of a sudden you got just such a massive impact. So, love the Zola. Number 4 for myself, and this is where, like, all of these they're strong options here. This is where I have Juggernaut, man. Woo! Good God almighty, guys. Juggernaut continued to be underrated. Juggernaut for 3 costs for what he does on turn 5, being able to play him with another 3 costs or a 2 and a 1. Man, he's just crazy. He's wild what he does. He pushes everything that you were playing on that turn out of a lane. Everything. So location disruption. You Professor X one, you know where they're going to go. Whatever it is, this is the thing about him, right? Whatever they were trying to do on that location, it's done. It's over. They don't get to do that anymore. And so flood decks are heavy at the moment, but either way, dude, you're going to be messing up what they're wanting to do in some capacity. Play him on turn 6. That's where he's the most surprising.
Every single time someone goes AQs on me and hits me with a Juggernaut turn 6, I'm not even mad. I'm like, you know what? Like, bless your heart.
Yeah, right.
Just bless your heart. Like that. You hit me with the Oscar Mayer weenie. I didn't see it coming. No one saw it coming. I'm streaming. I got all these people watching. No one knew you're going to play the Oscar Mayer weenie. And there we are, Juggernaut. I love that's a great pick. That's a great pick. Top 3. I'm actually really excited to hear your top 3 because like it's been pretty spicy through this list. Like we actually have some like divergence here. We haven't picked a lot of the same stuff, which is kind of cool. We don't actually know each other's lists in advance, by the way. So this is a lot of fun. I like this. It's fun for both of us.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me is one of my favorite cards in the game. It's a 5-cost cozy, and it's Valkyrie.
Valkyrie. You got it. Yeah. Okay. Good to go. Good to go.
Why?
No, I love it. I love the pick.
You love it? Yeah. Valkyrie is one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap. I cannot get over playing this card. Literally, no one thinks I have Valkyrie in the deck. Like, it is the MVP of every junk deck I make. It's the MVP of every, like pretty much almost every really high win rate deck I have. It has Valkyrie in it. Every really high win rate brew I have has Valkyrie in it. No one sees it coming, and I absolutely love it.
So I had 2 at my number 3 spot, and I was trying to decide which one on the fly that I was going to pick, and now you made it easy because it was between Valkyrie and one other, and I love that. And the reason I had her so high isn't that her effect is better than the ones we've listed. It's because she's not played that much, right? Like, dude, I lost an 8-cuber the other day. Oh my God, to a Valkyrie that got played early because I played Wave. And then this guy Arnim Zola'd his Valkyrie, man, and he double Valked the other 2 lanes, and I just lost everything in those 2 lanes, and I was flabbergasted what I just watched. I'm like, well, I'm going to make a deck with that because that was just preposterous, right? Yeah, I think Valkyrie's underplay is what makes her so good. And I think she's only going to get better as time moves on. Some other decks I've been working on with her in it. Love that pick. I would say that for my number 3. Instead, I'm going to go with Shadow King. Shadow King is on the rise. We've talked about it. He's good. I think that's what makes him so surprising. I think that they've kind of nailed the balance of where he sits. He's in his best place he'll ever be right now. I don't think he'll ever be better than he is right now because of the how Bounce is doing. But, man, Shadow King, talk about... it's just funny, man. You see these Angelos and these Bishops and these Kitties, and you're like, what are you going to do? And you just Shadow King, man. And they're like, okay, wow, well, wasn't expecting that. GG's not even mad. I can't be mad when I lose to Shadow King. It's just respect at this point. Shadow King number is going to be number 3 on my list.
Shadow King number 3. I got to tell you, I'm surprised. I'm surprised with that.
Exactly. That's the goal.
All right. Yeah. Surprising. What can I say? Number 2, Cozy. What do you got at number 2?
Number 2, my man. 2 and 1. I'm like, I got to go back and forth. 1 was the thing that I just see get the most wins at this point. But so I'll go with number 2. I've got Magneto. I think Magneto is just a card you kind of just forget about, man. Because he can go into any deck, he's the new Doctor Doom, as we like to call it. Dude, this guy does so much in one turn. Like, the thing I love about him is not only can he contest the power when he does move everything over there, but like, do people depend on these 3 and 4 cost cards to win them lanes? They depend on it. We lost to Lammy when me and Dexter were playing him because of a Magneto that we were like, why is that in the deck? Oh my god, what happened, right? So Magneto is just a card that, as 3 and 4 cost cards are good, he gets better, and spoiler, they're always good. There's a lot of good 3 costs, a lot of good 4 costs. Magneto is a card that I lose to a lot. I got to give respect to him.
Is probably the best evergreen card in Marvel Snap right now. Like, it's the card that you can put in almost every deck. It'll always feel good. And I love the pick, and you're exactly right. Like, we put so much emphasis on those 3 and 4 drops, and then they just get slapped around by Magneto, and he can man fight them mostly. Like, for the most part, like the 12 power, he can still deal with it, right?
Yeah.
It's so much board disruption. And in Conquest, like, you might know they have Magneto, but it's like, but where is he going to play it? What's it going to do to my board? It creates a situation where you can't trust your own board state, and I think that's extremely powerful.
Yeah, you just look across the board, right? Like Bishop on bounce decks, you move him to the Hitmonkey lane. Like, they were depending on that Bishop. You got the Darkhawks, they were depending on the Darkhawk. There's just so many more that fit into that role, and I think people give credit to.
Absolutely. If only Kingpin was just a little more viable.
Right.
If only. Number 2 for me, this is where our one-armed beam shooting bandit Claw comes in. I mean, for all the reasons why you said before, Claw, no one ever sees Claw coming. It is really the ultimate cube thief of Marvel Snap. It is one of the most accessible cards in this game, and it is legitimately a card that no one ever anticipates coming down. And I love what you said before. It's even great on turn 6.
I'm like rolling through my head. What is he going to pick for number 1? Because I don't think we've hinted at it yet. I don't think either of us has said one card that I don't think you'll have mine. I don't think you will. What do you have at number 1?
You really want to know what's at number 1?
Tell me.
Told you I was surprised. I couldn't believe you did Shadow King so dirty by putting him at number 3. He is by far the number 1 surprise card in Marvel Snap right now. By golly, I'm a Silver Surfer player, and I'm proud of it. And I am absolutely clapping people with Shadow King. Number 1 for me, this card went from absolute garbage, unplayable refuse, to one of my absolute superstars in my deck. I released a short where I just took down a 96 power Human Torch, right, with a Shadow King. And it felt beautiful. And I'll do it again because I love this card.
He's good. He's gotten a lot better, and I think he's balanced well too, for sure. Love that. That was your pick at number 1. I'm a bit shocked here because I think the card I'm about to say is not going to be earth-shattering. People aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, I wasn't. You have to look at it in the state of the meta, what it's been, where it's been. I'm shocked it's not on your list. I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, the card that wins the most cubes in Snap, for me personally, because I'm disciplined when I play it, that's what it all comes down to. Right now, you look across the board, what is just leading meta after meta, card after card, what is killing it? Hey, buddy, it's Killmonger, and it's not even close. Killmonger, to me, is the number 1 surprise card in Marvel Snap. Dude, the guy erase it. If you can be patient with your priority and you can figure out how to make sure you don't have it, and you play him, you're going to win so many matches, man. You're going to win so many matches. I don't know what has happened where people's confidence in no one having Killmonger has gone out the window. I don't know what's happened. It's blown my mind. I'm seeing people play Kitty on whatever turn 6. They slam it down in confidence. I'm like, have you forgotten sweet summer child, man? Like Nebula, Sunspot. I'm seeing a man. I'm seeing Zoodex come out there, Thanos, which is great. But hey, this card alone on turn 6 It's my number one surprise card by a mile.
And everyone's so greedy. Everyone's cutting armor. Like, no one's playing armor either.
Crazy.
It's like insane.
Animals.
I absolutely love this pick so much because if we were gonna make a drinking game on how many drink every time Alex says Silver Surfer, people would be like so inebriated. They'd be rushed to the hospital.
I'm
right
not
now
letting you say it. Don't say it. Don't say it again. Don't do it.
One of my favorite things to do is to hide Killmonger behind Invisible Woman in a very specific.
You said this on the
style
first
deck.
topic. This is a concurrent podcast, Alex. This is not a separate video. You have to remember what people already heard. Damn it.
I'm saying it so much I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just repeating myself over and over again. Yeah, this card's amazing, buddy. I love the pick, and you know what? Honestly, I should have included him in my list. Probably, like maybe Super Scroll could have gotten cut for Killmonger, maybe.
It was hard, man, because there's like obviously like what we didn't say Cosmo, we didn't say Enchantress. I think those are cool cards. I think Luke Cage can be surprising. You know, there's cards in there. But yeah, dude, I like the list. I can't wait to see like Legion on one of these lists. You know, like popping up that crazy train.
Dude, I'm actually pretty high on Legion. I'm actually excited, but I think people are like sleeping on that card. Like location control is like, listen, there are 3 locations in every Marvel Snap game. Like they have the ability to ruin you. And I think that Legion is going to be way spicier than people give it credit for. So anyways, that's just me. And that's a conversation, my friend, for another Snapchat. And guess what? If you want more Snapchat, right in the middle of the screen is, guess what? Another episode of the Snapchat. It's Cozy Side of the Snapchat. We're going to talk about our new card review and recap, the August Spotlight caches and the star ratings, and finally, the good and the bad and the ugly of the Spotlight cache system. Thanks for watching. Cozy, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in that next Snapchat episode.